I remember growing up playing a lot of the mass market games such as Monopoly and Clue and Sorry.
When I was younger, I would walk around the house with a stack of games in my hand, and I would go to every person that was there and say, hey, you want to play a game? And if they said no, I would go to the next person. I would just walk around, and the stack would literally be like over my eyes, and I was like 8 years old.
When I was a kid, the kids in my neighborhood, we made an origami little Viking helmet trophy that we passed from winner to winner of Risk each week. That was our weekly tournament that I guess we had.
I played games with my family growing up. We didn't have a TV, which I know is a shock and horror to the world, but it made us do more things together.
I did not have a computer until probably high school. So a lot of our family get-togethers involved Scrabble and Monopoly and Yahtzee.
In my college career, I actually ran a board game club at the college that I went to, which is still ongoing now, and I'm pretty excited that people are continuing to do that.
And those moments where you get to dominate another player, preferably a sibling or a parent, and watch like the frustration in their face and feel that like joy. I think that's something that is tough to see in any other area, and it's acceptable in gaming and board gaming.
The turning point to me, really in worldwide acceptance, was probably Settlers of Catan. That was the breakthrough game.
Catan was a game from Germany that was about trading and rolling dice, and this just revolutionized the industry, especially in America. When it came over, it just kind of blew people's minds that such a game existed. So much fun, trading back and forth. And so from that game, many games were built upon this idea of no elimination, players involved the whole time. Magic made board game stores viable. Until that happened, most board game stores were selling board games, but it wasn't a very profitable thing. Magic the Gathering not only blew up and had millions of fans, and still has millions of fans years later, but many game stores get much of their income from people who are constantly buying Magic cards, thus providing a whole industry a door.
Every time somebody comes out with a new game or a new mechanic that speaks to a large group of people, they are a part of propelling the growth of this industry.
Really, the changes in the board gaming industry, I would almost kind of compare them to technology, in a sense that games continually are getting better.
In the 70s, there was a renaissance in board game design driven from Europe, primarily Germany. And suddenly it was games that I had choices. What am I going to do during this turn, and how does that affect things?
I think maybe the biggest difference is whereas early games were very focused on luck, modern games are more focused on presenting players with agency, control over their own fate, and interesting decisions to make throughout the game.
After playing modern board games for a while and then going back to Monopoly and opening up one of those boards, it's just crazy how much we've evolved in artwork, pieces, gameplay, and it also steps out of the box a lot. There's a lot of thematic games, there's a lot of different kinds of games, and also player elimination has kind of disappeared. You know, when you're playing Monopoly, once you become bankrupt, you just have to sit there and watch everyone else play. And in a lot of modern games now, you get to sit there and play throughout the game. And I think that's super important for groups because you get pretty bored when you're eliminated and the game doesn't apply to you anymore.
A lot of those mass market games caused arguments and confrontation, where a lot of the newer games in the hobby industry, you can have fun building your position and making choices and building your engine without having to face a lot of conflict that you saw in some of the more classic or mass market games.
Board gaming is changing from being a niche hobby that applies to just a handful of people to being something that is so broad that it's becoming impossible to genuinely make the statement, I don't like board games, because there's probably a board game out there for you.
attracts newer people to these hobbies is, number one, it's becoming more and more prevalent. You're seeing it more and more in newspaper articles and magazine articles. You're seeing movies about it. You're seeing product placement or people playing games on TV shows these days, whether it's even something like Settlers of Catan or something like Ticket to Ride or something like that. It's becoming more and more into people's, their viewpoint.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity for people to get together and to work on something together, to think together, to talk together, to maybe have some drinks together, and have something else almost as a social lubricant in between them. That game, they're coming together to play that game, but it offers a comfortable environment because they don't have to sit face to face and talk. They're not forced to converse with people they don't know as well. And especially for someone who's maybe more introverted rather than extroverted, it's a great it's comfortable to sit in front of a game and know that's the main purpose of being here, and you can have some light conversation and get to know other people around that.
So many people are always on their phones, on Facebook, Instagramming, Snapchatting, and a lot of times that's the majority of the way that people nowadays communicate. And while that's all good and well, board games give people the opportunity to sit around a table, look at each other face to face, and actually enjoy each other.
There's multiple reasons why the board game industry is booming right now. The first, and I think foremost, is the fact that our society has one of such separation and isolation that this is a form of socialization. It's an excuse to get together and socialize with other human beings.
So one of the reasons why I think board games have really the board game industry has boomed over the last few years is Kickstarter and crowdfunding.
Now, just about anyone with a great game idea no longer has to go through the gatekeeper of the publisher, but they can bring that game to the market and see if customers and players want to purchase that game without needing to go through a massive publisher that might have their publishing line already planned out for the next 2 years.
Without the internet, you would be tied to whatever was in your local Walmart, Toys R Us, or if you were lucky enough to have a game store in your town. With the internet, you can go and watch reviews of games on YouTube. You can go and communicate with other people who like a weird tiny game that maybe only 500 people in the world like, but those 500 people can now all find each other. The internet lets you schedule meetups like through meetup.com or Facebook or other ways. It allows people to communicate with each other. It makes the world shrink. It allows two designers, one in Japan and one in Poland, to work together to create a game virtually where before they didn't even know each other existed. It allows communication to be instantaneous. It allows news to spread. It allows there to be groupthink. There's a lot of really positive benefits that it's brought to the hobby.
I think the future of board games is that they will be absolutely mainstream. This hobby still has some aspects of niche culture to them, but I don't think that that's true for long. People talk about being in the golden age of board gaming, and I think that's true, and I also don't think there's any end in sight. I don't think that this hobby or this industry is going away. I think it will continue to grow and continue to be part of people's daily lives and become more ubiquitous. We've already seen a bit of a hybridizing of board games and technology, and I'm certain that that will continue as well. I think that board games will always be board games, and there will always be people who have the want and the need to sit down around a table with cardboard and their friends and for a short period of time disappear into another world where they can play together.